The fog crept through New Haven's streets like phantom fingers, caressing the crumbling edifices of a city long past its prime. I watched it curl around my boots, thick and unnatural, reeking of sulfur and decay. Another scream pierced the night, distant but distinct. The kind that makes your bones ache with the knowledge that someone's world has just ended. Lyra Blackwood. That's what they called me in the hunters' circles, though I hadn't felt truly human enough to claim any name in years. The dagger at my hip pulsed with a familiar hunger, its obsidian surface drinking in what little lamplight filtered through the miasma. Mother's last gift before the darkness took her. Before I learned what really lurked in my blood. Please, help me. The whimper drew my attention to a narrow alley between two derelict warehouses. A woman lay crumpled against the brick wall, her clothes torn and stained with something darker than shadow. As I approached, the stench of brimstone grew stronger, and my own demon-touch senses screamed in warning. Her head snapped up at an impossible angle, jaw unhinging to reveal rows of needle-like teeth. "Sister," the thing wearing human skin hissed, "why do you hunt your own kind?" I'd already drawn my dagger before it finished speaking. The blade hummed with anticipation, sensing the corrupted essence within the creature. "I hunt monsters," I replied, watching as its form began to twist and bulge beneath rapidly blackening skin. The fact that we share blood makes no difference. The demon lunged, its human disguise melting away to reveal chitinous plates and writhing tentacles. I rolled aside, feeling the displacement of air as razor-sharp appendages sliced through where I'd stood. The dagger moved with practiced precision, opening a burning gash across the demon's thorax. It screamed, a sound like breaking glass and crying children, as cursed steel met tainted flesh. Black ichor sprayed across my face as I drove the blade deeper, my own demonic heritage lending inhuman strength to the thrust. The dagger drank eagerly, and I felt its satisfaction pulse through our connection as it fed on the creature's agony. With each demon I killed, the weapon's hunger grew stronger, and so did the whispers in my dreams. "He calls for you," the demon gurgled as it began to dissolve, its form collapsing into a puddle of writhing shadows. "Father misses his little girl, Cadiel." The name I'd never spoken aloud, though it haunted every moment of my existence. In my memories, he stood tall and beautiful, with eyes like burned honey and skin as pale as moonlight. He'd seemed so perfect to my child's eyes, right until the night he'd revealed his true nature, the night he'd torn Mother apart while I watched, helpless and screaming, from the closet where she'd hidden me. The fog thickened around me, and with it came the memories I'd spent decades trying to bury. Mother's laboratory, filled with arcane texts and forbidden artifacts. Her desperate research to understand the being she'd fallen in love with, to protect the half-breed child growing inside her. The ritual circle she'd traced in her own blood, binding the cursed dagger to our bloodline even as Cadiel's claws tore through her chest. A cruel laugh echoed through the alley, bouncing off the walls until it seemed to come from everywhere at once. "My beautiful daughter," the voice purred, as familiar as a nightmare. "Look how far you've fallen, hunting your own kin like a common sellsword." The shadows themselves began to move, coalescing into a figure that stood head and shoulders above any human. Cadiel hadn't changed in 30 years, still beautiful, still terrible, with wings of living darkness spreading from his shoulders to blot out what little sky was visible above. "I've been watching you, Lyra," he continued, reaching out with one elegant hand. His fingers ended in obsidian talons that could rend steel like paper. "Every demon you've slain, every drop of power you've fed to that fascinating little weapon of yours, it's all been leading you back to me." The dagger thrummed against my hip, responding to his presence. I forced myself to meet his gaze, fighting down the primal urge to flee that his mere presence inspired. "You're not my father," I spat. "You're a monster wearing a man's face, nothing more." His laugh this time held genuine amusement. "Oh, my dear girl, your mother said something similar right before the end. Such fire in her eyes, even as I showed her what true power looked like." He took a step forward, and reality seemed to bend around him. "You have her spirit, but my blood runs stronger in your veins with each passing day. Every demon you slay, every drop of essence you absorb through that blade. You're becoming more like me with each passing moment." I wanted to deny it, but the words caught in my throat. How many times had I caught my reflection lately, only to see my eyes gleaming with that same burned honey light? How many nights had I woken from dreams of power and corruption, my sheets soaked with sweat and my mouth watering at the memory of tasting human fear? The fog around us began to shift and spiral, revealing glimpses of other places, hellish landscapes where tortured souls writhed in eternal agony, demonic citadels built from flesh and bone, Cadiel's domain, bleeding through into our reality. "Join me, daughter," he offered, his voice thick with false tenderness. "Take your rightful place at my side. Together we could remake this world into something glorious." The dagger pulsed again, and with it came a revelation. Mother's final message, encoded in the weapon's very essence. "The blade drinks pain, but it can channel it too. Use it wisely, my love." Understanding dawned like a cold sunrise. Every demon I'd killed, every drop of suffering I'd absorbed, it hadn't been making me stronger. It had been preparing me for this moment. I drew the dagger in one fluid motion, its surface now glowing with accumulated power. "You're right about one thing," I said, meeting Cadiel's eyes as his expression shifted from confidence to uncertainty. "Mother's spirit does live on in me." Before he could react, I plunged the blade into my own heart. Pain exploded through my chest, but with it came something else: release. Every scream, every moment of agony, every drop of suffering the dagger had consumed over the years erupted outward in a nova of purifying light. Cadiel's scream of rage turned to one of genuine pain as the wave of power washed over him, stripping away his beautiful facade to reveal the writhing horror beneath. The light continued to build, burning away the fog and pushing back the hellish visions until only the alley remained. As my vision began to dim, I saw Cadiel's form crumbling, breaking apart like ash in a storm. His final words reached me through the growing darkness. "Foolish child. You've damned yourself far more thoroughly than I ever could." The light faded, and with it went the last vestiges of my humanity. I felt myself falling, not down, but through layers of reality, through veils of suffering and darkness, until I landed hard on ground that felt like heated glass. When I opened my eyes, I found myself in a realm of eternal twilight, where the sky burned with unholy fire and the air itself tasted of ancient sins. My sacrifice hadn't destroyed the darkness. It had bound me to it eternally, transforming me into something new. Neither demon nor human, but something in between. A guardian of the boundaries between worlds, cursed to hunt my father's kind until the end of time. I rose on legs that ended in claws, feeling wings of shadow unfurling from my back. The dagger had become part of me, its essence fused with my transformed flesh. In the distance, I could hear the howls of demons preparing for another assault on the mortal realm. My mother's final gift hadn't given me freedom, it had given me purpose. As I spread my wings and launched myself toward the sound of approaching battle, I realized that some curses are really blessings in disguise. I would never escape the darkness, but I could give it purpose, direction, meaning. In the end, isn't that what redemption really means?